So you've done all the right things. You launched your course and nobody buys. Oh no, what do we do? So in today's episode, I want to talk about some of the reasons why people might not be buying. And we're going to start with the one I see the most often. So let's jump in.
Welcome to the Course Creators HQ podcast, helping you navigate the latest techniques for creating and marketing online courses. And now, here is your host, Julie Hood.
Oh my goodness, how are you doing today? So I really hate it when I see this happen to course creators. They put their heart and soul into getting their course created and getting it launched. And then the worst happens. Nobody signs up when they launch. So today I want to talk about this a little bit because this can be a very challenging time and can be so deflating for you. So the first thing I want to say is it might not be your fault. Let's just start right there. It may not be anything that you have done that is causing this. So don't let it get you down. Like, just keep launching. The first few times I launched, I had very, very few people jumping in to my courses. And I was like, wow, is this really what I want to do? But I kept at it and it kept getting better and better. So just remember, if you have a bad launch, it's okay. You can survive it. And here's a few things that you can think about in order to make the next launch a little bit better. So the number one reason that I see when people don't get people signing up, assuming they've got all the other things figured out, they've got a good topic and, they've got a good message and everything. The number one thing I see is that they haven't gotten in front of enough people. Let me say that again. They haven't gotten offering their course in front of enough people, because what ends up happening is when you get in front of a few folks, the likelihood that they're going to be ready to buy right at that moment is probably not super high. There's a few things you can help to sort of push them forward or encourage them to jump in, but more than likely you just need to get in front of more people. And maybe more of the right people. So we're going to talk about that later in this episode too. So what are some things you can do if you're launching and you're like, wow, people are not signing up. What can I possibly do right now to go get in front of more people? So a few things. One, maybe go do some Facebook Lives. Go do Instagram Lives. Go snag friends or partners that joint venture partners that you're working with and ask them if you can do a quick 15-minute connection with their audience and share some really good information and talk about your launch. Maybe you need to go do a Clubhouse room. That's another great place to get in front of some new people. And this is kind of what I'd call like a last-ditch effort before you're closing. You're suddenly trying to get in front of more people. So it's not ideal, but you may capture a few folks that you wouldn't have captured if you hadn't done this last ditch effort. And then long term, the fix for you is I want you to focus on two things. One, give yourself longer launch periods. So I started doing this last year and it is so much better. And then I don't try to launch something and then have it up in 2 or 3 weeks. Like, I plan out to where I'm going to be promoting 5, 6 or more weeks long so that I can really get in front of people of enough times. They have to hear from you over and over again in order to recognize what it is that you're providing. And then once you make that launch period a little bit longer, really focus on building your email list and getting more people into your orbit, more people who are hearing about you, learning about you, messaging with you regularly. So that's how, if you haven't gotten in front of enough people, that's a couple things you can do. And then another thing I've seen some people do, maybe works, maybe doesn't, is Facebook ads. I'm not a huge fan of those because if they're not converting, it could be a good way to just throw a bunch of money down the drain. But make sure you have a way to capture those names so that you're at least getting them on your email list. And even if they don't buy your course, you're still capturing them and they're going to be available to you long term. So reason number 2 why people might not buy from you is that they don't know you well enough yet, and they don't yet believe that you can help them. So, and notice I use the word yet twice, and that was intentional because sometimes people just need a little bit more time to connect with you. I noticed a few years ago, I was looking at the larger type expensive courses that I purchased, and they were always with people who I had been listening to and following for a couple years. I'd been listening to their podcast. They had been in my ear, and I knew that what they were offering could help me. So, how can you use that? Make sure that you're doing some kind of weekly content, whether it's email, whether it's Facebook Lives, whether it's Clubhouse rooms, whatever YouTube videos, whatever your content needs to be. Do something every week because that way people can stay connected to you and you keep showing up for them so that when they're ready, you are still in the top of their mind. I went back and looked at some of the purchasers of a couple of my courses, and they were folks who had been on my list for 18 months. They had been following me, getting my emails every week, and that's when they were ready, when the timing was right. A few others were people that I had spoke to personally inside a Clubhouse room. So this is one of the fixes that maybe you can add. What can you do to add that personal touch? Can you do some Facebook Lives or Instagram Lives? Can you do Zoom calls? Can you do direct messages? Maybe do audio direct messages or some kind of social audio, either Clubhouse or LinkedIn or Twitter Spaces, something like that, where you are speaking directly to your audience. It builds that relationship so much more, especially if you've got a bit of a higher price course. Sometimes we will just plunk down for the lower price courses, even if we don't know someone. But I know personally, I don't do that on the more expensive ones. I have to get to know the person for a while and make sure I believe that they can help me. So reason number 3 is that they don't know what they're getting. And related to that, they don't know what the result will be. And this is really easy for us to miss as we're putting together our offer and describing our course. As instructors, we really get into what all is included. You get this bonus and that bonus, and you get to talk to me 15 times, and you've got 6 modules, and it's about 6 hours, and all of the logistics around your course are the things that come top of mind for us as the instructor, because we do need to know those things. But typically, those are not the things that sell it for you. In fact, tonight I was looking at a very specific brand new course, and I was interested, but all they did was list out all the bonuses, and they didn't speak at all to what the result was going to be. So that when I finished the course, when I got to the end of it, the outcome for me, what was it going to be? And that was the part that they needed to speak to more. The name of the course was trying to give me that, but there wasn't enough of it. Like, I needed more. I needed them to sort of promote the result more, not just, we're going to give you these 50 bonuses and this is why it's worth it to you. So make sure the fix for you is to make sure that you're talking about the outcome, the result. Here's how you're going to feel. Here's how you're going to act. Here's what you'll know. Here's what will make your life easier. All of those things are what people are really paying for. They're not paying for the time with you or the 6 modules or the blah, blah, blah. They want the outcome. So remember that as you're promoting and talking about your courses. What is that outcome? And make sure it's really clear to all of your audience. Number 4 is that sometimes, you know what? The timing just isn't right. They can't do your course right now. They're in the middle of big family things. They've got life happening. And so it's not that they aren't interested or that they don't want to jump into your course. It's just not the right time. So a couple things that I do to help fix this. The first one is I do mention a lot with my email list a long-term planning section. So I let them know after one of my launches close the next time that it's going to be available, because it might be 6 months out, and that gives them a little bit of time to think about it and get ready to gather the cash and really prepare themselves to leave that time open. So especially for your higher price courses, I think that can be helpful in giving some of the left brain folks on your list that advance notice so they can be prepared. And that 100% I will raise my hand for that. You know, I don't always just jump into something tomorrow because I need to make sure it's going to fit. I have a very, very full day and full calendar. So adding a new course, it's got to work in around everything else. So give me some advance notice so I can plan it out that I won't have a lot of other things going on. The other thing that really helps, I think, somewhat with the timing is to do some limited launches. Like by not always being open, you are setting your audience up. And when you're explaining this to them, look, this isn't going to be open tomorrow. You know, I'm not going to open this for another 6 months. If you do think that you want to do something before 6 months from now, maybe you need to go ahead and sign up. And even if you can't start this week, you can start next week or in a couple weeks, but it's going to be 6 months before it's actually going to be open again. So that can also sort of address that timing issue as you're trying to connect with your audience. And it's not like it's a technique or a strategy. It's just the flat out, this is how it is. You know, if you want to work with me, now is the time to jump in because I'm not going to open it again until later. So that's related to number 4, which is getting that timing just right for your audience. And then number 5, and I made this the last one, is that sometimes the price does affect some people. And I didn't want to put this at the top because I don't want you to immediately go to, oh, it's just my pricing is bad and I need to cut my prices. Because I don't believe that. I truly believe, and I know I've done this for myself, for the things that I really want, for the courses that I am just dying to get into, we figure out the pricing. We figure out the cash. We figure out how to make it work. So if you think that your price could be holding some people back, there's a couple different fixes for you. The first one is to definitely be offering a payment plan. And that has made a big difference. You know, I know there are people that maybe can't come up with $1,000 today, but they will spread it out in $200 payments over the next 6 months. So offering those payment plans can be a way to help get around the pricing hurdles for folks. And then this is another part of maybe what you need to think about is, do you need to be getting in front of a slightly different audience? You may have heard Melanie Benson talk about this, and she was the first one I heard this from. Is she asked, you know, where are you fishing for leads? Are you fishing for leads in the right ponds that are the perfect fit for who you're trying to reach? And I thought that was a good point to at least think about. You know, am I reaching people who are available, who are interested, who are action takers? And if not, where else could I try? So maybe just experimenting with a few different ponds, a few different places that are working or not working for you. Because one of the things I will say that I've learned over the past 20 years is there are not a lot of absolute answers to anything. The thing that works for me, it may not work for you. And the thing that works for that expert over there who has this huge, tremendous list, that may not work for me either if I've got a smaller list. So it's really hard to take too many blanket statements and say this is always how it is. You just have to keep trying, keep testing, get to know your audience, get to try out different options, get in front of different people, try out different techniques, different tools, fish in different places, and just see if in the long term you are able to get in front of the right people for your course. So I hope those 5 things are helpful for you. I'll recap them quickly. The first one is maybe you haven't gotten in front of enough people. And that typically is the biggest one for most folks, that they just haven't gotten their offer in front of enough people. Number 2, the people that you have, they just don't know you well enough yet, and they don't yet believe that you can help them. Number 3, maybe they don't know what they're getting and what the outcome and the result will be when they take your course. Number 4, the timing just isn't right. They just can't do it today. And number 5, maybe it's pricing, maybe it's a dollar value option. So give them some other alternatives. So I hope that gives you a few things to think about this week. Thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate you being a follower and a subscriber to this podcast. It makes my day. It's one of the best things I do during the week. So thank you so much for listening. Have a fantastic week, and we will catch you on the next episode. Take care.